Yesterday at 3 o'clock, we were all kind of waiting. I think everybody was waiting for Mike McCarthy to take the podium and start answering questions about what was going on with this team. There are multiple things that stick out as far as multiple questions I wanted to know answers to. What is Mike McCarthy's job safety right now? And, I mean, we know how many years he has left on his contract, but where are things with him and Jerry? How do they look at it? Where's the Dan Quinn? Where's the Kellen Moore? Why did you let these coordinators and defensive and offensive assistants go? There are lots of things to get discussed. But when he said this, I perked my ears up and was like, really? And let's go to cut 8 on this one, Joey. He says that Jerry wants him around for quite some time.
Well, the conversations were more about design, philosophy and structure, and then in how it applied to, the advancement of the staff too. But, as far as my relationship with Jerry, just using his word, we're in an excellent spot. He's the partnership that we have. He's excited about. He told me a number of times this week that he wants me to coach here as long as Coach Landry did, and I said, okay, it's a long time, but I feel really good about our relationships. I think our ability to discuss and disagree is we do a good job of that. So, and I think that's important, because when you get into these situations of free agency and these tough decisions, you got to be able to have those conversations. But also his support and what he believes. I thought he was incredible with the team Monday. His message to the team was outstanding.
Now, Mike, there are a lot of times where Jerry will say something and you're just kind of like, what did he really even say? There are also times where you're like, will Jerry go back on his word? When Jerry Jones said that there was nothing that Mike McCarthy could do in that game that would cost him his job, he said there's nothing. He said no. He's our coach.
Well, I'm sure there's things. I mean, he pulls down his pants
or
something.
Yes.
He's probably getting fired.
Yes. I feel like on the field in the game, like nothing that them losing.
He punches the ref in the face. He's probably getting
there's
fired.
Probably they're gonna have some concern.
But more of like normal things, he wasn't gonna get fired.
And when it came to like Wade Wilson and his job security, I don't know if I ever knew that it was always stable. I always felt like there was some instability with Wade, and that he just didn't command the room the way that Jerry wanted to. I do think Mike McCarthy commands that. Somebody just texted in, Jerry fired a bunch of McCarthy's guys to give him that money to Quinn. And I think that's pretty interesting approach to seeing that and hoping that Dan Quinn can continue doing that good of a job without all those assistants around. The 28 years is a very long time that Tom Landry built the legacy. And I know that Jerry Jones at one point told Jason Garrett, hey, I want the same for you. He did. I was adamant at night. I was so sick of new coaches coming in, constant turnover with this organization while they were still poor and bad at stuff. I was so mad at it that I said, Jerry needs to do what they did with Tom Landry. And he needs to sign him to a 25-year deal and just build on that. And 25 years is a stupid long time. But sign him to a 10-year deal. He did. He was like, hey, I'm going to keep Jason Garrett around as long as I possibly can. Then he was like, look, this is my guy. Nobody else out there wanted this guy as much as me. This is my guy. And then it got to a point where you're like, okay, now, I mean, you've seen that this is bad. Mike McCarthy, I don't know if he can. I think he'll be a winning coach. If he's here for 28 years, I think he'll have a winning record his entire time that he's here and probably be in double-digit wins most of his career. Will Jerry Jones ever get the over-the-top moment? That's what I'm afraid of, is that at some point he goes, that's not good enough. I have to move on, and then you regress. Do you think that Mike McCarthy, there's no way he's making it. He'll be 85.
No.
If he was to make it Tom Landry time.
No, and Jerry, as much health as he can get, Jerry ain't going to be alive 22 years from now.
Right.
So that's why I laughed about it. Now, I guess obviously Steven can keep him as the head coach, so maybe he could be for 25 years. But I guess I just look at it as McCarthy's a good coach, and I don't think Jerry, as long as you win 10 games, you're fine.
Should be.
And honestly, what Garrett got the benefit of the doubt was every year he was in jeopardy,
something miserable happened.
He would win, right? It's like he's going to get fired. And then they go 12-4. And then the next year they would go, 5-11. But it didn't matter because but that 12-4, and he dealt with injuries. So I don't think McCarthy has that much of a leash that Jason Garrett had, that if you have a good year, it doesn't matter what you do the next year. And then you'd have a bad year, and they're like, man, Jason Garrett's in trouble. Then he'd have a good year, and it's like, well, then the next year you'd have a bad year. And Jerry would be like, but what about the year before? Because Jason made Jerry happy. He never wanted to let go of Jason. It got to the point where he just had to. And now I don't think Mike McCarthy is in the same standing. Jerry doesn't have a relationship with Mike McCarthy's dad like he had with Jason Garrett's dad. Mike McCarthy wasn't a quarterback on the Dallas Cowboys. So I do think that if Mike McCarthy were to, let's say, this upcoming season, which I don't think he will, to your point, go 7-10.
Right.
I do think he would get fired. But as long as he goes 10-7 and they lose in the wild card round to whoever, that's good enough. That is the Super Bowl for Jerry Jones. That's satisfying.
To the point, Tom Landry didn't have a winning season until his 7th year as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I think when everybody looks at the Cowboys in Tom Landry era, they're like, oh my gosh, Tom Landry just started winning and just never stopped. He was 0-11 in his first season. I'm sorry, 0-11-1 in his first season as head coach. And in the 7th season, he finally won 10 games. From there until from 1966 until 1985, he only had 4 seasons in which he did not have double-digit wins. That kept his job. I mean, obviously, winning those Super Bowls, he won Super Bowls. He was in NFC Championship games. They were the best. They were right there with being the best. And that kept him there for a window, for a period of time. After his last NFC Championship game, it was about 10 years until he had a losing season again. Those wins kept him around. Obviously, this is a different era right now.
Right.
Media moves very fast. Opinions are there every single day from the Stephen A. Smiths and all that, and it does change a lot of opinions on things. But Mike McCarthy has 2 seasons now where you just pointed out, he has 12 wins. As long as he keeps doing that, keeps winning, keeps putting them in position, the Cowboys will keep him around as long as they possibly can. The next phase of this, and I guess, what do you think he's done well? I asked Jerry this a while back. What do you think that he's done well? Because I know some people get mad about this, Mike. You were in clubhouses. You were in bad clubhouses. You were in good clubhouses. You've seen how athletes react to coaches sometimes. I wonder is it that he's just really good at letting his coordinators do their job and he just lets them, monitor that? Does he let the players patrol themselves and they don't have to worry about it? They have the freedoms. They don't have a micromanager down their back all the time. What do you think it is that McCarthy does well?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're all guessing. We're not part of the team. So I would say, from what I understand, the players believe in him. The players trust him. He trusts his coaches. He never throws any player under the bus for mistakes.
Yeah.
So you always feel like you're protected. No matter what you do, it will stay in the building. So I think that's what the players like out of him. He does have credibility. He has a championship. He can walk in with a Super Bowl ring. He has a lot of playoff appearances. So I think that there's a lot there, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not one of his players or one of his coaches.
I think he created an environment that does insulate them a lot and keeps them from having to, adjust. This year, alone, they were like 7-minute interviews. Think about that for a second, Mike. We never had that happen before, and all of a sudden we got shut down to 7 minutes, and we may have bleeded a little more than we should have. But there were a lot of things media-wise that they're like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do those things. So I think he insulates. He does a good job of creating an environment where they feel comfortable and motivated to continue going. I do ask this other part of it. Now that Dan Quinn's back, is it time to load up on the defensive side of the ball? Is it time to say we're using this draft to make our defense even better Or do you say, you know what, I have to make my offense better?
I think the only defensive position they take in the first round is cornerback. I think they take an offensive player. So, no, I do not think they load up. I think they look at Dan Quinn and say, keep pulling the strings and keep figuring out ways to do it, because we offensively are so inconsistent that we are going to. And now the thing is, you don't have a running back on this team.
Right, you're right.
So I'm not saying they're taking a running back at 26, but I'm saying you don't have a running back on this team. Peters is probably going to retire. Tyron Smith is a guy you can't count on at all to really play in the NFL with his injury history. You don't have a tight end right now, because I do like Ferguson. I think he can take over, but you're losing your starting tight end. Your other running back is a free agent that you like with a broken ankle. Your other guy has partied himself really out of being a good NFL running back. You don't have a number 2. You messed up on Michael Gallup. You don't have really a number 3 unless you kind of can maybe push Gallup back to 3. So I think that they're going to concentrate in the first 3 rounds on offense.